Hey everyone, happy Thursday. I am going to start this over again because Facebook was not cooperating. So I'm actually going to start over because the first feed was so awful and I do apologize for that. So today I'm going to talk about content that converts your followers into paying customers. And this is one of my favorite things to talk about because I love to talk about content. It is probably the place where I am happiest is when I'm helping others create content and when I am creating content for our business. So since today is February 1st, I do want to remind you that we do have a free February content package available. It has our February content workbook, which has tons of ideas for content for February. And then it also has some wonderful, beautiful stock photography that you can download for your February content. So it is linked in the description of this live. So make sure that you go ahead and download that. So before we start, and I know some of you posted earlier, but I want to know what your content struggles are. What is the biggest thing that you struggle with when it comes to creating content? And I have, if you aren't sure, I have some prompts that may help you. So is it that you have ideas, but you don't have time to create the content? Is it you have no idea what even to talk about or even where to get started creating content? Is it you have a million ideas, but you're not sure how to generate sales from those ideas? Or is it you have some ideas, but you're not sure how they can generate sales and you wonder how to get more ideas? Or is it something else? So tell me in the comments what your struggles with content are. And so today I'm going to go over, and I know some of you were here earlier, but I'm going to go through this again. But today I'm going to cover why not just creating content is important, but knowing what kind of content to create matters. How to create content that your ideal client wants to see. How to create content that actually converts your followers into paying customers. How to create consistent content that is quality content, and what kind of content is tried and true online. So those are the things that I am going to cover today. So what I want to start out talking about, because it has to do with creating content and marketing your business online, are the algorithms. And I know if you have followed me for any amount of time, you've heard me talk about the recent change with Facebook's algorithm and algorithms in general. There has been a lot of noise about the algorithms and how they affect marketing. And there's been a lot of people screaming that the sky is falling and a lot of fear and worry when it comes to the algorithms. And I, as a 15-year marketing veteran, I don't worry about these things with the algorithms because one, I love the algorithms and I'm going to tell you why. And two, I know that the strategies that I have used for 15 years are tried and true. And if you use your baseline strategies that work, it doesn't matter what platform or what the algorithms are, because it's essentially building that know, like, and trust factor with your ideal clients, giving them what they need to find value and to get value out of the content that you're creating and getting them to trust you. So if you've followed the tried and true marketing strategies, and I'm going to talk about some of those today, the algorithms, you don't need to worry about it. And when the media freaks out because Facebook changes something, you can just laugh like I do. Okay. So the reason that I actually love the algorithms, and you should too as a small business owner, is because it gives us the ability to serve content to people that we want to see our content. So if Facebook has a great algorithm, that means that people are going to continue using that product. So they're going to continue to use Facebook because they are getting content served to them that they like, that they enjoy. And it gives me as a marketer the opportunity to use these free platforms. You guys, Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest are free. These are free tools that you and I get to use, and they're not barriers for us. Like, I cannot afford to buy a Super Bowl commercial, okay? Big companies can, but we can use the same tools that big companies use and have access to our customers on these platforms. So you guys, the algorithms are good. They help our content get to the right people on these free platforms, okay? So you have to embrace the algorithms, and it does mean though that you have to create quality content that your audience wants to see, because there is a ton of content out there, because everyone knows that there are not these barriers. You know, I can use Canva to create a graphic. I can use my phone to create a video. These barriers are gone to creating content. So everyone is creating content. So there's a lot of content out there to compete with. It's noisy, it's crowded, and it's difficult to stand out. So here's a statistic that I want you to think about, and I think the statistic's going to get worse with some of the recent changes, is that a Facebook post only reaches about 2 to 7% of the people who have liked your page. And on Instagram, the average engagement rate is only 1 to 4%. Those are really small percentages, you guys, but I don't want you to get discouraged about these, because if you can reach the right people at the right time with the right message, you don't have to be average. In fact, we are not average on our page. We regularly get 50 to 300% organic reach on our social media posts. And the reason that we do that is because we know our ideal clients very well. I know exactly what kind of content that they want to see and the platform to put it out to them. So I know that these Facebook Live trainings are helpful to our ideal clients, and it has helped us get that reach on social media. So even though those percentages are small, you don't have to be average. If you know your ideal client well and you know what she wants to see, then you can exceed those numbers, okay? You can do it, even as a small business owner. I am a small business owner and I can do it. Okay, so let's talk about how to do that. So there's a mantra, and you have probably heard me say it a million times over and over again, and that is people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Tell me if you've heard that before. I'm sure you have. So how do you get people to know you and like you and trust you online? And the answer is by consistently creating content that is relevant, content that is valuable, and content that is engaging to your ideal client, which means you have to show up online every single day with content that your ideal client wants to see. So tell me right now in the comments, do you know who your ideal client is? Can you describe her to me? Tell me, I want to know who your ideal client is, and put it in the comments, okay? So if you don't know who your ideal client is, I'm going to talk about how you can figure out who she is and what kind of content that she wants to see. So, and these are things that you can do today, all right? So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to talk to your best customers. I want you to talk to anyone in your network who you think is your ideal client. And I want you to ask her questions about, you know, what are her challenges that you think your product can solve? You know, what do you have that solves those challenges? What does she think can solve those challenges for her? You know, why does she choose to buy a product or service like yours? Where does she go to get information like that? Who does she trust to buy those product from? What are the answers that she has to have in order to purchase a product like yours? And if you can find that, then you can start creating content around those questions that she has so that she will convert to a customer. Okay, so the second thing that you can do today is that you can use Facebook's graph search. And if you've followed me for any amount of time, you've heard me talk about this before. So what you can do is you can go into the little URL box on Facebook and type in pages liked by people who like, and then put in a page. You can put in your page, you can put in a competitor's page, or you can put in a page that you know your audience follows. So for example, I know that our ideal client, she drinks Starbucks coffee, she has a Netflix subscription, and she shops at Target. And so what I can do is I can put in pages liked by people who like Target. And then I will get a result of pages liked by people who like Target. And so I will go and see what are the other brands that she probably likes. What kind of content are they posting on those pages? What kind of content is performing well? What kind of content is not performing well on those brand pages? And the great thing about that is brands like Netflix and Target and Starbucks spend millions of dollars in customer research. I cannot afford millions of dollars in customer research. So I can take advantage. Thank you, Starbucks, Target, and Netflix, for doing the research for me. I can get an idea from the type of content that they are posting that kind of content likely performs with my ideal client because she is also their ideal client, okay? So you can take advantage of those big bucks that the corporations spend. Thank you. Okay. So the next thing I want you to do is I want you to create a document, and I like to use Google Docs, of the most common questions that you get from customers, or maybe they contact you through chat or on the phone. I want you to start writing down all of the questions that you get from people before they buy your product. And then I want you to go back and I want you to think about, can I create content around these questions to help my customers before they buy? So by creating content that answers these questions, you are removing a barrier to purchase. So they no longer have to take that extra step to ask you a question. It's already been answered through your content. And one of my favorite examples of this is when I worked at an advertising agency. We had a client who had a call center, a really huge call center. And what we would do is we would go sit inside the call center and we would listen to the questions that people were calling in and asking. And then we decided that we would create marketing materials and content, this is a while ago, around those questions so that one, we could remove that barrier so people would buy faster. We were shortening the sales cycle because we were getting those questions asked faster. Customers felt more informed and they were more likely to buy because they're like, hey, these guys are providing all of the information that we need before I even purchase. So I know, like, and trust them now because they're providing me this information. I feel heard. I feel like my questions are being answered. And then third, we were saving that client money because the more questions that they were getting in their call center, the more people they had to employ to answer those questions. So we were answering them on the front end with content, and it was saving money and making more money on the back end, okay? So write down those questions that you get and answer them through content, okay? Holly, that link might not be working if you're on your phone. Sometimes the event links don't work on mobile devices for some reason. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about creating content that converts. And I want to address the type of content that does not convert first. And the type of content that does not convert is promotional. It's salesy and it feels spammy and yucky to your follower. Okay. And that's why we talk about, I'm sure you guys have heard this rule. Do you know the ratio that I always talk about? Put it in the comments if you do. It's the 80-20 rule. So 80% of your content needs to be valuable and helpful and in no way promotional, okay? And then 20% of your content can be promotional. Now, when you follow this rule, and in fact, I probably do like 90-10 or 95-5, I really try to be helpful, then people are going to be receptive to that promotional material. They're going to be receptive to hearing your sales messaging. In fact, the more helpful and valuable information you provide with no strings attached, the more people that are probably going to start asking you, hey, you keep talking about this topic, and how can I buy it? Or how can I get it? How can I learn more? Can I hire you? So the more helpful you are, the more receptive people are going to be to buy from you. And a great example of this is I am in a private group for entrepreneurs. And the other day I was waiting for my car to be fixed, and I was sitting in a waiting room, and I was like, hey, I want to brainstorm some content. I want to help out some of my peers in this group. So I posted, hey, if you are struggling with content, tell me what kind of business you have and what kind of content you're struggling with, and I will come up with 3 ideas for you. And I think I had like 50 people respond. I couldn't respond to them all, but nowhere in that did I say, oh, and by the way, I do this for consulting, or by the way, I sell a course for this, or by the way, here's my website. No, I was purely helpful. All I did was sit there and help people. And you know what? They probably maybe clicked on my profile and then found my website or found our Facebook page, okay? But I never was promotional in it. Now, the flip side of that is I could have gone in and said, hey, I'm Nina and I'm a content marketing expert. You should hire me, or come over to my page to learn how to get more content. And that feels gross, right? So by offering them the opportunity with no strings attached just to add value, I built that know, like, and trust factor instead of being promotional and gross, okay? So that's kind of an example of how to do the same thing, but in a helpful way versus a promotional way. Okay, so now that we've covered what doesn't work, let's talk about what does work. So the most effective marketing is about your customer. And so I want you to ask, am I leading with value, or do I have an ulterior motive with this? And you should always lead with value, okay? Because effective marketing is all about your customer. It is not all about you. It needs to add value to their lives, whether they buy from you or not. Because somebody may not buy from you, but they may say, hey, I keep seeing this lady and she keeps posting all this wonderful information. I don't really need to buy it, but you should do it. Or somebody will ask a question, be like, hey, do you know somebody that provides this service or product or whatever? And they're like, oh my gosh, you know what? There's this gal, she's really great. You should check her out. So they may not necessarily buy from you, but they're gonna spread the word for you if you are helpful, okay? So what you want to do is you want to come up with some goals for the content that you are putting out. And so I'm going to give an example. So let's say your goals are to educate and to drive people to your owned assets, and then to get people to act. So those 3 goals. That should be your goals for your content. So if you're going to educate your customer, you want to educate them to be better consumers of your product. So teach them how to read labels effectively, teach them or give them a review or a guide about I was talking to a VA the other day, and she was wondering how to market herself. And I said, why don't you do a blog post about, the top 25 interview questions that you should ask before you hire a VA? So she was educating her prospective clients on how to be a better consumer of product, okay? The second thing you want to do is you want to drive people from your social media assets to your owned assets. And the reason that you want to do this is because Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and all of these platforms can go away tomorrow. And so you want to continue that conversation onto somewhere that you own, your website, your email list, just get them somewhere else, get them off of the social platform onto something that you own. And the way that you do that is the third step in this is getting them to act. So ask them to come read this blog post, or to sign up to get this free piece of content, or to sign up for your e-newsletter, or to call you. Whatever your objectives are, you want to ask people to act in order to get them to continue that conversation somewhere else so that you can convert them. We really concentrate on building our email list because I can continue my conversation with those of you who follow us here when you sign up for my email list. We send out exclusive deals. We send out downloads before anyone else can get them. And so I really try to add value to our e-news subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. But we really try to keep in contact with our followers via email. The other reason is, let's say Facebook disappears tomorrow. What does everyone need to sign up for a social platform? Can you guess? Do you know? An email address. It doesn't matter what social platform you are on, you must have an email address to register. So email is not dead, my friends. Build your email list, build things on platforms that you own, okay? So all of these steps lead to a sale. So all of your content should be constantly pushing your customers to the next step in the funnel, which I'm going to talk about next week, so RSVP for that event. But all of your content should be filling in to those goals that you choose, which I talked about: education, inspiring them and getting them to act. So now let's talk about, you need to come up with buckets or categories that you want to fill when you are creating content. And you can think of like 8 to 12 buckets that fit into those goals. So those goals of educating and getting people to act and moving the conversation forward. And so, for example, if those are the goals that we talked about, let's think about an educational category. And this could be, it doesn't necessarily have to be all tutorials, although I love tutorials and guides and things like that. I think those are wonderful pieces of content. But it could even just be things like books that you like to read. What makes you a more well-rounded person in your industry? So for me, because I'm an entrepreneur, I would recommend books that I like. I have books back here that I like to read about being an entrepreneur, and I would share those with our audience. You could inspire them. So tell them a story about how you started your business, or things that you overcame, or quotes that you find that keep you going in your business. So you can inspire through storytelling and quotes. And then talking about convert, you should have some conversion content. So content about your products and services in a non-promotional way. Lead magnets, so downloads, guides, checklists, things like that. Remember, all of this content, even though it is promotional and talking about your products or services, needs to add value. I can't say that enough. I really can't. You're probably tired of me saying it. You can even, for some of your categories, if they fall in, to show some of your personality. So maybe you are really passionate about coffee. I love coffee. Who loves coffee? I'm actually surprised how many people don't love coffee. I feel like it's like more than I thought, but that's okay. I love coffee. So you can talk about coffee, or maybe you love wine, or maybe you love pets, or maybe you love travel. So you can integrate that in to the categories, your content buckets that you are filling, because that shows your personality and it helps build that know, like, and trust factor, okay? All right, so now let's talk about actually creating your content. You guys, do you have questions? If you have questions, even if you're watching the replay, go ahead and put your questions in the comment. I always come back and answer questions, and I am going to answer questions at the end of this, but put them in the comments if you have questions on anything about this. Okay. So let's talk about creating content. I am a firm believer in quality over quantity when it comes to creating content. You should never, ever post a piece of content just for the sake of posting content. If you wake up on Monday and you're like, oh my gosh, I have not posted in 5 days, I just need to post something, I'm just gonna post this picture. Don't do that. Your content needs to be intentional, and it needs to have strategy. It is a waste of your time and effort, and it will hurt you if you are just posting content for the sake of posting content. So don't do that. Every piece needs to have a strategy and a purpose. And then I want you to think, every piece of content that you post must do these 3 things. You must provide value, and either create demand or eliminate objections. And I talked about this last week. So value is a given. I'm talking about it all over the place. So it creates value. And then this is an and or. It needs to create demand or eliminate objections. And what I mean is, creating demand means maybe somebody doesn't know that your products exist. And so you're creating demand. So you're showing them that your product or your service exists. They may not even know they need it. Or eliminate objections. So maybe, somebody's like, oh, you know what? I don't need a Facebook ads course. I can't afford Facebook ads, so I don't need it. Well, then my piece of content would say, did you know you can run Facebook ads for as little as $5 a day? Woo! There goes that objection, because what business owner can't afford $5 a day for a week or two? We all should invest in our business, so we can afford that. So I've eliminated that objection of I don't need a Facebook ads course because I can't afford Facebook ads, okay? So provide value, create demand, or eliminate objections. So I'm also a firm believer in consistency. Consistency is so important. That's why I show up right here at noon. We had a little glitch today, but that's why I show up right here at noon every single Thursday. There are days, you guys, I wake up and I'm like, ugh, I don't want to go live today, or I'm tired, or you know what, after I had those technical glitches earlier, I was frustrated and I was like, if it cuts out again, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I want to go back on live again. But it's important for me to show up here for you, because I know a lot of you know that I go live every Thursday at noon and you show up here. So I am going to show up here for you, and I'm going to show up here consistently. And you need to do that for your customers to build your business. You need to show up consistently. So I'm going to talk about my content creation process, and hopefully it will help you maybe think about putting a content creation process in place for your business. So I plan out our content monthly. I have a content calendar that is built in Excel, and every month I have a big idea of like the quarter and the year of what I want to do and what I want to accomplish, but I plan the content itself monthly. So I go in there and I look at things like holidays, product launches, and seasonality. I think about what is the mindset that my ideal client is in this time of year. So for example, in January, I know that our ideal client is thinking about things like setting her goals and productivity and how she can grow her business this year. And so all of our content was focused on helping our ideal client with productivity and adding value and helping her plan her marketing campaigns for the year. So think about the mindset of your customers in that particular point of the season or the year. You're welcome, Catherine. When you are planning out your content, okay? So here is what my weekly content process looks. So I look at the month and I decide on like a theme, and now I'm looking at my weekly process. So every single month or every single week, I publish a new blog post. Now, this is my main piece of content that everything else is going to spin off of for the week. So my blog post is typically what my Facebook Live topic is going to be. And so I have a blog post and a Facebook Live, but it's all based on the same thing. I will often create a bonus piece of content, so like a checklist or workbook or something like that. And this month it's our content package that people can download, okay? So it all has to do with that topic I'm talking about for that week. And then on my social media platforms, I'm creating posts around that topic. So I did Instagram stories yesterday, reminding people to join me live today. I've done Instagram posts and Facebook posts about creating content. I talk in my private group, Marketing for Mompreneurs, about creating content. So out of one piece of content, I have all this other stuff, so I'm not reinventing the wheel all week. So I have one thing to work off of. So I do the one blog post, and then, I repeat that every week, every single week. So for you to do this, each month you want to think about the challenges and state of mind that your ideal client is in. Think about your business goals. Are there new products coming out? Do you have a product launch? How can you address all of these things with content in order to help you reach your business goals, but to also help your clients and your customers in that part of the month, okay? And then I want you to commit to how often you are showing up. So I've talked about the Facebook algorithm and the updates. And Facebook Live is so important. And so I want you to commit to showing up on Facebook Live if you're open to doing that on a consistent basis. And I know not all of you can do it every week, so maybe it's just once a month, or maybe it's every other week. But whatever you commit to, you want to stick to it. So you train your audience to expect things from you. You train them to know that every Thursday at noon, Nina goes live, or every Monday at 8 a.m. she has a new blog post. So people know what to expect from you, and they're ready to do it. They're like, where's your content? I'm excited. I plan to watch this every week. So you want to give them something to plan for and train them to expect to see you consistently. Okay? And then repurposing your content. We've been doing this for a couple years now, and so I will go back and I will repurpose content because not everyone sees your stuff all the time, okay? You can put up a Facebook photo or a video and not everyone's going to see it, so you can cut it up into smaller bits and post it on Instagram stories. Or take your blog post and create a pin out of it. And you can actually, let's say you have a blog post that's like the top 7 reasons to whatever. You could do a pin of just, the top 7 reasons to do whatever. But then you could do a pin for each step. So step 1 pin, step 2 pin, step 3. That's 8 pieces of content on Pinterest from one blog post. So make sure you're repurposing your content. Something else I really, really like, and I don't know if any of you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, Gary V, I can't say his last name, if you guys follow him. Something that I love that he says document, don't create. And I don't quite agree with the don't create part. Maybe I'm misquoting him a little bit, but I document my processes and that creates content. And so what I mean is, let's say I'm shooting some photos for my website. Well, while I'm shooting those photos, I'm gonna do an Instagram story or a Facebook Live while we are doing it. I'm creating content out of creating content. I'm gonna post, a lesson that I learned about, while I was doing that, and I'm gonna share it as a story. That's another piece of content. So think about all of the different ways that you can repurpose content and then also document while you are creating content so that you have more content to share, if that makes sense. Tell me if that makes sense. Okay. All right, so now let's talk about what's working online right now. So it is no secret that social media has trained us to favor visual content. So video and photos and GIFs. These are all visual pieces of content that we have been trained to catch our eye online through, Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram, and all of these things are very visual platforms. So it's going to be no surprise to you when I tell you the stuff that is working are visual pieces of content. You should always be thinking, can I add a photo to this? Can I make a video out of this? Can I create a GIF out of this? Can I create an animation out of this? And there are a lot of great tools out there to make that easy, okay? So things that are working right now are visual. So I want to read you a couple facts that kind of reinforce this point. So articles and blog posts that use images get 94% more total views, okay? 60% of consumers are more likely to consider or contact a business when an image shows up in local search results. 67% of consumers say the quality of an image is very important in selecting and purchasing a product or service. So your photography needs to look nice. You don't have to have a fancy camera to have nice photography or video. I promise we did a Facebook Live about it, I think 2 weeks ago. So if you scroll down on our wall, you can find the video of me interviewing Taylor from Taylor K Photography about how to take better photos with your iPhone, okay? And then when people hear information, they're likely to remember only 10% of that information 3 days later. However, if a relevant image is paired with that same information, people retained 65% of the information 3 days later. So 10% remembered it 3 days later without an image, and 65% remembered it 3 days later because it had an image. You must have visuals with your content. Okay, articles with an image once every 75 to 100 words receive double the social media shares than articles that have fewer. So if you have a blog post, you need to be adding images into the blog post. And then Facebook posts with images see 2.3 times more engagement than those without images. Am I hammering this home enough? So images and photography have an immense impact on consumers and on their purchasing behavior. So you are going to convert people, your followers, into customers by using images and video. So when you're creating content, I want you to ask yourself, how can I depict this when I'm posting visually? Can I add a video, a GIF? You make a boomerang. Those are so fun. And it's a free app, okay? There are not a lot of barriers to creating this content. You don't have to be a professional to do it. You'll get better and better over time, okay? So think about, would an image complement the point that you're trying to make? Can you demonstrate a call to action through an image? So can you add a graphic or even a picture of you pointing to the link that you want them to click on, okay? So think about images and video because it influences their purchasing decisions. It's going to convert those followers into customers, okay? So the best photos that you can use are going to help your customers experience your brand. Think about what you want your customers to feel when they see your brand. You want them to feel happy, relieved, all of those different positive feelings. How can you convey that through an image? And it needs to stir emotion. Think about, the most popular videos that go around online. They make you laugh and they make you cry. They stir that, or maybe they make you angry. They stir emotion in your followers. So you need to think about that so you can build that trust and authenticity with your customers. Okay. So there are several ways that you can create impactful content and images online. Like I said, watch the video that we did a couple weeks ago, scroll down on our wall. It's an interview with Taylor Kay, and we talk about how to take better photos with your phone. You can use professional stock photos. There are multiple websites available that provide stock photography, even ones that are paid and ones that are free. You can hire a professional photographer. So maybe think about, if you can afford it either monthly or quarterly or every 6 months, hire a professional photographer to take some branded photos of you, some headshots, some photos of your products, and really sit down with them so that they can help you plan out how you're going to use that content so you can make sure you can get the most out of those images that you are paying for. That's one of the more expensive ways to do it, but it is also worth the investment. We do it here ourselves. And then take some photos yourself. You can take photos with your phone. You can get some really inexpensive lights on Amazon to help it look better. Like I said, there's a lot of tips in that other video. So, okay, I talked a lot. So tell me something that you've learned today in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions about creating content. I've been talking so much, I'm so sorry. But I hope that you got some great information from this that talks about how to actually create content that converts your followers into customers. And even if you're watching on the replay, I do always come back and answer questions. So please, if you enjoyed this, put a comment or question in the comment section. Give me a like, give me a heart, share it with anyone that you think will find it valuable. Also, don't forget to download our free February content package. The link to that is in the description of this post. And then next week, I am going to talk about building your funnel strategy and talk about the customer journey and content that you need to create in each step to make sure that you are leading your customers down through the funnel. I don't know. Tell me if you guys know what that means. Sometimes I'm so close to what I do. I use these jargon and terms like content and funnels and customer journeys. So tell me if you even know what that means and I need to take a step back. But essentially, we'll talk about, building your funnel strategy, your strategy to get people aware of you, to convert into a customer, and each step that you need to take in order to do that, and the content you need to create in each step. So make sure that you RSVP for that live. The link is in the description. Like Holly said earlier, sometimes on mobile devices, those event links do not work. It's really frustrating. But if you go to the events section of our Facebook page, the event is there and you can RSVP there. So thank you again to everyone that showed up today. Like I said, if you are watching this on the replay or you're here live and there is a bit of a delay, so if you have questions, please put them in the comments. Okay, I see a question. Olga, do you feel it's important to have yourself in pictures of your product or to just show your products? Olga, I can't remember what you sell. Tell me what you sell. But if you are your personal brand, I believe there should be pictures of you because you want people to recognize you. I think you should both have great pictures of you and your products. And the reason is people like to do business with people. They don't want to do business with a logo. And so as much as you can put yourself out there, and I know that's uncomfortable for some people and you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I do think it's important to have your face out there. You will see in a lot of our content, we have my face and my business partner Neil's face so that you guys can get to know us and recognize us in your newsfeed. Usborne Books. Okay, so for direct sellers, I do recommend that you have a strong personal brand. And so I would position yourself as not just an Usborne bookseller, but you are Olga, the children's education expert or book expert. So I really talk about how important personal branding is in a lot of our marketing, especially for direct sales consultants, because there are so many of you selling the same thing, right? So why should I buy from you versus my neighbor that sells it? So I would suggest to stand out if you are comfortable with it, or use pictures of you, create that strong personal brand, but also have beautiful photos of the books. I don't know Usborne's exact rules on recreating images with books and things, but I would create your own graphics and images to stand out online. So hopefully that helps. Kyle, is the best way to get people to your Facebook Live is just being consistent? Will it build up organically? Yes. So people did not show up to our Facebook Lives when I first started, Kyle. It really took time to build up. I usually say about 3 to 6 months of being consistent on social media is when you will start to see a difference. So it really is consistency. So you've just got to show up. Don't give up. I talk a lot about, promoting your Facebook Lives ahead of time. So make sure, Kyle, I have seen you're posting your schedule, which is wonderful. So every touch point that you have with people, you want to remind them that you're going live, but it is going to take you about 3 to 6 months of doing it consistently to really start get over that hump and have people show up. And also, a lot of the traffic that we even get on our Facebook Lives come after I'm not live anymore. So the majority of our views do not come when I am live. It actually comes afterwards. So just keep that in mind as well. So again, thank you to everyone who showed up today. I do apologize for the glitches that happened with the last one. I had a very stern call with my internet provider, and hopefully they have that fixed. So thank you again, everyone who showed up today. I hope you found this helpful. I'm really looking forward to our topic next week. It really builds on what we talked about today, so please RSVP for that. And I will see you next Thursday at noon Mountain Standard Time. Thank you.